Well, as you can hear, I got the radio working. I was getting nothing out of the speaker for a long time, and I was testing the voltages on these tubes. And I found this one blue wire where the insulation had been cracking off, and it looked like it was shorting against 2 pins, which was not on the schematic that way. So I replaced it, and boom, boom. This was the phase inverter. Everything just came alive. So I still have some work to do, but things are looking up. Okay, as you see, I've got the radio working. It still needs a little more work, but for the time being I'm going to let it go, and I'm started testing the receiver for the mystery control. And I've done that by first of all switching it to the control setting. And I hooked up a frequency generator to the antenna terminal back here. And then I swept the frequencies approximately where it should be picking up. And as you see, this Thyrotron tube begins to fire. I'm right around 390 kilohertz, which is well within the range that it should be. So that's operating correctly. This Thyrotron usually has a cover over it. I took it off to show you what it looks like. It's an interesting tube because it's filled with argon instead of a vacuum. And it puts on quite a light show when it conducts. Okay, having determined that the receiver for the mystery control was working correctly, it was next task was to turn to the mystery control itself. And I have got one here partially disassembled. There's a really good video on YouTube by a battery maker on how to take one of these apart and clean it up, put it back together again, so I'm not going to reiterate on that because he did a very good job with it. What I've done with this one is to take the guts out, clean it, lubricate it. I took the dial off, and I'm leaving the dial off because it's warped like most of them are. And I've got it so that I can turn this. It runs fairly smoothly. And I tested the numbered 30 tube in there by, if you dial it and hold it there, the filament should light up if it's good. And that, at least that part did, so I continued on. The next thing I did was to, if you look at the back, there is an adjustment screw down here, and this adjusts the frequency that this thing transmits on. So I know there are more elaborate ways and more elegant ways of getting the tune to the same frequency as the receiver, but what I did was just take a screwdriver and very slowly, incrementally turn that, and then turn the dial, and then turn this a little more and turn the dial until I got a response from the Thyrotron and got it on the approximately the right frequency. That having been done, I noticed that I was having a problem with, or it was very erratic. I would have to hold this a certain way, a certain direction for the tube to light up, the Thyrotron to fire. And that was before I had hooked up the antenna to the set. So it's very important. It's a very important tip to hook the antenna up. If you notice at the bottom of the case, that's the antenna that picks up the signal from the mystery control. And you need to have that hooked up to the back of the set in order for this thing to really work accurately. Okay, after that point I was getting some consistent results with the mystery control no matter where I had it in the room. I noticed that I was not getting a very good pulse reading from the Thyrotron. It was kind of spotty, quick off, it wouldn't click several times. So I went in to the relay system here, because other people have had problems in the past and they said it was gummed up. There's a lot of gearing
underneath here, underneath the stepper relay that changes everything, and so I sprayed and lubricated that. And right now I'm to this point. I'll show you where I'm at with this. Or I can turn this. Let's see if it'll work for me. Sometimes you have to adjust the sensitivity control in the back here. Sorry about that. This is a little finicky on where this remote control is at. There's too much metal in the way, like the chassis. I think it blocks the signal. So I'm going to turn the dial down here. You can't see it, but you can see the gyrotron cycle through. You also hear a lot of grating, so the relays are not quite working quite right. And they're not cycling through the lights, so there's definitely something not hooked up right yet. And this is how you control the volume control. That will turn the volume up and down. And you do that by turning the dial and holding this down. So I'll come back later and do a little more work on this.